Well, here's something I've been wanting to do. I just made a recent video on this Ithaca Model 37, and this is in 16 gauge. And I just wanted to put this Winchester Model 12 in, and I wanted to compare both of them together. And this is a Model 12, Winchester Model 12, and this also is in 16 gauge. So they're both beautiful shotguns. I mean, they're just unbelievable condition. As you can see, all the bluing is just unreal. So, and again, this one's made in 1959, and it looks like in some point of the life, in its life, that somebody put some quick shellac or, you know, semi-gloss on the stock and on the forearm here, and they didn't really do a good job. I mean, you could see some areas there's a couple blotch marks. Maybe it was just drying out and it just didn't look too good in the safe, and that's what they did there. So but they're both in excellent condition. I mean, you could see even the slide action, there's not much loss, bluing loss. I mean, it's just, see, but, and then this one also, slide action right there. But they're great shotguns, and anybody that owns one of these will tell you that. They're both slam fire, and if you could find them in this condition, which is really rare, especially 16 gauge. I've always loved 16 gauge. I mean, people out there always want to go out and buy a 12 gauge, and I just don't understand that. Yeah, it does have a big punch to it. Absolutely, you get hit by a 12 gauge, you're not going to get up, but guess what? You get hit by one of these 16 gauges, you're pretty much not going to get up either. So, especially if you use buckshot, a slug. I got buckshot and slugs for these, and regular bird shot. And I also reload if I have, you know, if I feel like it, I'll reload my shells. So, but they both have 28-inch barrels. They have a brass beaded sight on both of them. So there's a lot of similarities to these. You know, the corncob forearm. The only difference, you know, with this model 37, you know, it has a little bit of checkering here. This one doesn't. This one's plain. This one has the original Winchester butt plate, and this has the original Ithaca butt plate. But they're both plastic butt plates. And you know, the main difference between these, of course, is your extractor here with your bolt. This is an enclosed bolt, as you can see. Nothing on that side, nothing on that side on the receiver. So what you do is you load your 16 gauge shells in here, and it really, they go in nice and smooth. So I don't have any snap caps or anything, but if you push these in, they just like, it's like, I don't know how you can explain it. It's just so smooth how they go in. So when you're done firing and you pump, the actual shell casing will eject from the bottom, which I really like that one. I actually like this one over the Winchester, believe it or not. But again, they're both great. But there's a couple little quirks on the Winchester that I'm more leaning to the Ithaca, and I'll explain a couple of those that I got from experience. One is the shell extractor on the Winchester. I mean, as you can see, one, there's no engraving, which is fine. You know, if somebody likes this little dog here and this little pheasant going up, you know, Ithaca always had the engraving, but you know, it still looks nice without it. But as far as ejecting the shell, of course it comes out the side. Do I like that? Well, I've shot a lot of shotguns in my life. Yes, it's okay, but I'd rather have the Ithaca where the shells just come straight down. They pretty much come straight down, and they're out of your way. These, you know, come a little bit towards your face, a little bit depending how you're shooting. But, and another thing on this Winchester, it really is not as smooth as this Ithaca. I mean, I'm holding the camera with one hand, but as you can see, the release on the Winchester is all the way back here. See, it's behind the trigger guard here, and it's on the left side. So it's a little hard to get to. I mean, there it is right there. It's a little hard to get to. It's not as easy as the Ithaca. So, and then the Ithaca is right here in front, basically alongside the front here on the right side. So remember that the Winchester would be on the left side here, and then you have to push that in a little bit, and it releases your forearm here. But I'd rather, this is actually more convenient for me, but I guess it also depends on the person. I mean, you could be used to something like that. It might be better for you, but this is better for me. It's just much easier to release this pump. And I just like it. And as far as smoothness goes, the Ithaca, I think, outdoes the Winchester. It's close. It is close, but it's a lot smoother on the Ithaca when you're pumping this. So 1 out of 10, I would have to give the Ithaca a 10, and I would give the Winchester a 9. So maybe other people will overlook that and say, well, I like the Winchester better, but you've probably been shooting the Winchester a lot more. I've been shooting them the same. There's no difference. I guess they're about the same that I've shot, because I have a couple old ones too that I shoot, and they're the same. I really don't shoot these, but the old ones I do. So, but that could be a little bit different too. But I've racked this quite a few times too, not a whole lot, but I've just fooled around with it and racked it a little bit here and there, and it still seems that the Ithaca is the smoother out of the Winchester. Just my opinion, just what I've seen over the years. All right, and the other thing I don't like is I like the Ithaca on the takedown, because these are both takedowns. I actually like this. It's easier to take down. Then there's nothing rattling up front here. This Winchester, you have this. Now watch. I don't know if you can hear it. Hear that? I don't like that. Don't like that at all. So, yeah. See it moving? It has nothing to do. It's not loose or anything. It's just the way it is. It's the way it's built. This one, nothing. See? No rattle. So you could walk in a field with this, and you're not going to make any noise. You'll be like noiseless. Noiseless, right? So, you'll be getting a rabbit or a pheasant or a quail or whatever you want to hunt, and you'll sneak up on it with this one. This one, you're going to give them notice. Hear it? You're going to be like, oh, here I come. They're going to hear you before you even get near them. So maybe it is something wrong with it, but maybe I have to tighten this screw, but I doubt it. I don't know. I don't think so. I think that's just the way it is. Maybe that screw is loose. Who knows? But you can see the screws are in excellent condition. They're not boogered up or anything, see? I mean, look at this thing. Look at the bluing on this Winchester. See that bluing? Isn't that pretty? And then even also on this Ithaca. Now, I did have a couple videos on this already, and a lot of people are interested in these. I mean, that's why I'm making another video, especially on the comparison of the Winchester and the Ithaca, because a lot of people love these things. I mean, they're just in demand. And you can see the prices, what they go on Gun Broker and Guns International and all those online sites. They're getting big bucks for these things now. So, especially in this condition. I would say $700 to $1,100, a piece for these things. I mean, they keep going up and up because you can't find them in this condition. Anytime these were sold back in the 50s, 40s, or whatever, these were used. As you know, in the 40s and 50s, they did a lot of hunting. And they actually went out and hunt just about 2 or 3 or 4 times a week. But then it started to slow down, a little bit in the 60s they hunted, but not as much. 70s they hunted. And then that's when the 80s came in. So the 80s, we were pretty much hunted out. So in your general suburbs of the areas that you live in, you really couldn't find too many pheasants, because that was pretty much when I went hunted a lot. I went hunting pheasant a lot and some rabbit. And I saw some rabbits, quite a few rabbits here and there. But pheasants were the the obsolete. So that's when they just started breeding the pheasants, and then they would farm raise them, and then they would let them out in the game lands. And it wasn't any fun. You know, I had to kick a pheasant to get them up in the air. So, you know, before that, like in the late 70s, mid 70s, I would go hunting. You know, you would find wild pheasants in the cornfields and in the soybean fields and all that. And then it was fun. It was actually challenging, because when you saw one, they fly away within 30 feet away from you, you know. But now, even back in the 80s, when they, you know, they were pretty much gone and they farm raised them, you would really have to step on them to get them to fly. I remember that one back in the 1988, 89. There was one by a creek, and I walked all day to look for a pheasant. I wanted to bring home one pheasant. And what happened, I saw this pheasant about the end of the day, and I was tired. It was just a horrible day. And I saw this pheasant along a creek on an embankment, and he was like stuffed back in a rooted area of a tree with the running water, and he was just kind of like scared to death, you know, like hiding away from everybody. And you could tell he was farm raised, I'm sure. I said, man, I'm going to get this guy. I'm bringing this home. So I did. I got him. And he didn't even fly up in the air. I just shot him down on the ground, you know. But, you know, and that was pretty much the last time I got disappointed on going out pheasant hunting. And the reason why there was no more pheasants, it was because of the farms with all the pesticides through the years. They made them infertile. So the pheasants could not reproduce fast enough, besides all the hunters hunting them out, which was, you know, a good majority of the pheasants that they were obsolete. But also the fertilizers, the chemicals, the pesticides. And year after year, because I know my dad was a farmer, it just made the females infertile. So then people would just go out and hunt them, and that was it. So, and it was sad. I mean, they were great hunting days. Now today, like I said, now even with these, you don't really go out and bang them up. You don't go hunting as much. You just kind of look at it hanging on your wall or put it in your safe. And that's about it. But back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, these were used. They were used, they were abused, they were, you know, torn apart, they were worn. And that's what you see out there now. If you could find them, you see those. And they still get $400, $500, $600, $700 for them. But these are in mint condition pretty much. Not 100% mint, of course, but close. All right. And you can tell they're different blues. This, on the Winchester, it's more black. See how the black? Okay. And I think on my one video, I said this might be reblued. I'm not sure. It might be. It's possible. But I can't tell with this one, and I can't tell with that one. I really think this is 100% original. Even from, I took this one to my local gun shop guy, and he said it was probably an original. He doesn't think this was reblued, but I didn't take this one over. But this one's more black, and that's why I think this was kind of reblued. So, but I don't see any markings whatsoever that this was reblued. The only thing is it was varnished on the wood. And as you can see, the corncob grips or forearms are a little different. But to give this rating, or this comparison, I mean, I consider the Ithaca over the Winchester. But again, they're both unbelievable shotguns. And I more so go with a 16 gauge. I love my 16 gauge shotguns. So anytime I find something, if I have some extra money, which is hard, I will pick up a 16 gauge, or I will trade something else I have into a 16 gauge. Either way, because one day I think the 16 gauges are going to be obsolete. So there you go. Ithaca, the top one, model 37, 16 gauge engraved bottom ejector. Winchester, model 12, side ejector. Both in the 50s. This one's a 1953 Ithaca, and this one's a 1959 Winchester. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe, and be safe, and stay safe in this world the way it is.